All right, Assalamu alaikum. Today on MPA's podcast, we are joined by Dr. Mohamed Rahman. Dr. Rahman is a Canada Research Chair in International Finance and Competitiveness and a professor at Sobey School of Business at St. Mary's University. He's also served in senior leadership roles focused on building strong partnerships between academia, industry, and the community. At the upcoming Impact Conference, he'll be facilitating a workshop titled Riding the AI Tsunami for Businesses and Job Seekers. Dr. Rahman, Assalamu alaikum. We are grateful to have you. How are you today?
Walaikum salam, Fairuz. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. This is great. Thank you.
Of course, the pleasure is ours, Doctor. So, Doctor, for people meeting you for the first time, how do you usually describe what you do?
Well, you've already described what I do, right? But it's basically, I am a very simple human being, a father, a husband, and for my profession, I'm an economist. I teach at the Sobey School of Business, St. Mary's University, and I'm a Canada Research Chair. The research expertise are primarily trying to understand what are the different sources of competitiveness for businesses, particularly when a business wants to engage in global marketplace, in international trade. What are the different obstacles they might face? And then what are the different sources of or competencies or competitive edge they might have? And more specifically, I'm more interested in how the financial aspect of a company, particularly financing of a company, how that could become a source of competitive advantage for companies when they go and compete with companies from China, India, and in the United States in the global marketplace. So again, it's trying to understand what's happening in the broader economy from a finance and financial economics perspective. And in my spare time, I also try to engage with the broader community in different capacities whenever I can. So in a nutshell, simple human being and trying to do my best for my family, for the community.
Absolutely, Dr. Rahman. I know you're very modest. You're one of the key board members at Ummah Masjid as well, and mashallah, we always see you active with the community, and your humility can be seen very prevalently.
Shukran.
So if I may ask, Dr. Rahman, what shaped your interest in this field, in the field of business, finance, competitiveness, and decision making?
It's my father. So my father was a teacher, and I have seen, my father always involved in the local communities, and particularly, the local masjid that we had in our. So I grew up in that environment, and I always wanted to be a teacher. To be honest, I haven't thought about anything else. So Alhamdulillah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was kind and generous. I have got opportunities to study in International Islamic University in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia, and then I did my masters from the University of Cambridge in the UK as a Cambridge scholar, and then I was fortunate to get a scholarship to study my PhD at University of Toronto, Economics Department and the Rotman School of Business. And then I finished my PhD from University of Toronto. And then, of course, once you finish your PhD, you have the option to go and work in the finance industry or in the public sector, or you could become a professor or a teacher. So for me, the option was very clear. Because I wanted to follow my father's to become a teacher and to help the community as much as I can. And here I am. And of course, in terms of why I'm interested in economics and finance and competitiveness, I always wanted to explore what drives people's behavior, particularly what incentivizes people to do what they do in economic transactions. And more importantly, I really wanted to understand because my family had a small business and my family business got into trouble with the bank because bank was financing some of the operations. At one point, we had to close down the family business and you could call it, foreclosure or whatever. And then my father eventually became a teacher. And that really struck me that what goes in the financial transaction between a company and a bank, right?
Mm,
What makes or break a great company,
mm,
and what role financial institution, what role banks particularly play in shaping great companies. And that essentially sparked my thesis that I worked on, that how exactly access to bank financing can either stifle or stimulate growth of small and medium-sized companies. So that's
mm,
one of the chapter of my thesis. Why companies go bankrupt, right? Why some companies are enormously successful while others are a tremendous failure, right? So what is the role of financing? What is the role of bank? What is the role of the management and the management quality itself that plays in shaping great businesses? So again, everything goes back to my experience as a kid, and seeing my father running our family business, and eventually bang taking over the business, and my dad moving into becoming a teacher. So combination of all these things that made me explore in my PhD research, and even in my research today that I do at the Sobey School and St. Mary's University. It says I study bank loans. Basically, I study, contract, where I get into the minute details of what goes into a bank loan contract when a company signs the contract with the bank, and what are the different implications for corporate performances. What are the implications for the bankruptcy risk? What is the implication for credit risk of companies? And when those companies go and compete in global marketplace, how exactly this access to financing, ease of financing versus difficulty of financing through the banking system is going to have a ripple effect on the competitive edge of the company in the global marketplace. So this is a particular focus of my research as a Canada research chair.
that's beautiful, doctor. That's beautiful. To take an experience, to draw inspiration from it, to learn from it. It's definitely inspirational. So, Was there a moment in your career when you realized the work and the business was changing faster than ever?
Well, I mean, it's in academia, things move really slow,
Hmm.
right? Because research is a very slow-moving process. But in the industry, things really move very quickly. So if you are a professor in a business school, which is a professional faculty, so you are in a very unique spot because your research needs to have academic relevance,
Hmm.
and at the same time, your research also needs to have practical implications, which is different from, let's say, if you are in a pure social science, let's say English literature or sociology, or let's say you are in a pure natural science like physics and chemistry, right? So we are in a professional sort of hybrid kind of environment where we have to do academic research, and at the same time, our research needs to have practical business implication because we are a business school. I'm a faculty in a business school. So whenever I see seismic shift in business environment, right, that naturally affect what I do in my research. So, for example, when I graduated in 2008, at the height of the global financial crisis in 2008 and 2009, when I was working on my PhD thesis and defending my PhD thesis, global financial crisis happened, right? So that was a massive, everything was on the verge of collapse. So that naturally shaped my research interest. What basically makes financial system so critical for the success and failure of the broader economic system itself. And basically, that experience also shaped my subsequent research agenda. One of the interesting thing that I have learned over the years is that I'm not sure whether you know this, that in the 200 years of history in Canada, we are the only developed country that never had a systemic financial crisis. We
Hmm.
never had a currency crisis. We
Hmm.
never had a balance of payment crisis. On the other hand, if you look at Europe, if you look at, let's say, United States, or if you look at the developing countries, you're going to see that every 8 to 10 years, there is a massive crisis. It could be a
Hmm.
currency crisis that is happening in Iran or in Turkey. or in Russia, let's say, or it could be a balance of payment crisis that is happening in some of the South American countries or some of the African countries, or it could be a financial crisis that happened in the United States in 2008 and 9, or in the Asian market in 1998. So that really struck me. What is so special about the Canadian financial system? What makes Canada really unique? That basically makes us so special in the global financial history that we as a country, we are ranked number one in terms of financial stability. So I think that was, a realization that I thought, we really need to explore Canadian financial market. We really need to explore Canadian business environment because we have a lot to offer to the global community as a country, as Canadian researcher, as Canadian businesses, and as Canadian financial system, because we are a beacon of stability in the midst of all the chaos that is going on in the global financial market these days. That has been guiding my research focus. And, I can proudly say that I have been exploring those issues. And again, when I graduated, the great financial crisis happened in 2008 and 2009. Canada stood out as a beacon of stability, and that really shaped my thinking process and the direction of research that I was taking right after that.
Wow, yeah, I did not know that. Do you think quickly can you share a point or two? What do you think are the major reasons, or is it too broad?
It's a mix of things. So of course we have one of the most highly regulated financial systems in the world.
Hmm.
So, for example, if you go to a Canadian bank, you cannot buy insurance from Canadian banks, all right? So
Hmm.
they have a subsidiary that offer insurance. So the regulation is actually separating the actual banking business that takes your money as a deposits and loans out to business versus insuring people for the lot of risk they take, right? So regulation separates those, and that basically makes the banking system way more boring banking, taking money from people as deposits and loaning out to business, the liquidity transformation that we say. You take money for short term, but you convert them into a long-term loan to businesses, right? It's very boring business, but Canadian banks do that. On the
Hmm.
other hand, in other countries, banks could get into a lot of different activities. So it's regulation. The second is culture. Uh, Canada is a country of immigrant. I think we have a different attitude towards risk. As a country or as people, we are not uh, you know as risk loving as some of the other people. So culturally, we are very conservative when we take risks. For example, Canadians don't really invest a lot of their money in overseas market, even though we call it as home biased, right? Canadian would love to invest their money in Canada rather than investing in a global market. There are a lot of reasons for this why they do this, but this is one of the sort of indication that we love to stay close to home. We have a lot of faith on our system, and we mostly invest in our own companies. I mean, in finance literature, we call it home bias, but Canadians do it. And finally, Canadian financial system is highly concentrated, right? So essentially, it's six major bank that controls 90% of the market. So whenever you have a highly concentrated market, you have a lot of rents to protect, right? Because if you get out of the market, it's so difficult to get in. So Canadian banks are very careful what they do, right? Because they want to protect their monopoly that they have. So it's a combination of a lot of different things. It's a combination of sound regulation. It's a combination of the culture of risk appetite we have as people. It's also a combination of the highly concentrated banking system that we have. It is extremely difficult to open up a bank in Canada. All right. Canadian
Hmm.
banks called charter bank. You have to secure a charter from the Canadian Parliament to open up a new bank. So if they go out of business, it's so difficult to get in. So they're extremely careful to protect their turf and how they do business. So they're very disciplined as Canadian banks. So in fact, Canadian banks are one of the most profitable businesses that you can have in entire non.
Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Rahman. So, one of the things that you mentioned was you keep an eye out for the seismic shifts, changes that happen. Do you consider AI as being one of those shifts of that magnitude? And I wanted to make sure our listeners get your perspective from where you're coming in terms of AI with your knowledge, research, and what you do on day-to-day basis. So many people hear AI and feel confused or overwhelmed. In simple words, what is AI changing right now?
So in simple word, I've started, again, my research is guided by what's happening in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And I have launched a new research project, particularly focusing on AI.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to understand how AI could enhance productivity of businesses, and
Mm-hmm.
so that Canadian business could become more competitive, right, in the global marketplace through the lens of AI. AI, in simple term, it's basically, to me, because I'm not an AI expert, all right? I am a financial economist, right? My domain expertise is economics and finance.
Mm-hmm.
But I am using AI to understand how I could make Canadian businesses more productive, more competitive in the global marketplace. So, and I think AI is going to be a tremendously influential tool in shaping Canadian business productivity and competitiveness, because what AI is doing, it is democratizing intelligence, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you go back, if you think about prior to the Industrial Revolution, if you had a lot of muscle power, you had a lot of demand in the labor market, right? But then came Industrial Revolution. So what it means is that now machine could do a lot of the heavy lifting, and as a result of that, human strength became kind of irrelevant, right? If
Mm-hmm.
you have a lot of strength, if you are, very powerful, doesn't mean that you're going to have. So it has democratized the strength, human strength, because machine is now doing a lot of the stuff. And then came steam engine, right? So
Mm-hmm.
what steam engine did basically revolutionized how we transport goods and services from one place to the other, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then came electricity, right? Electricity basically enabled a mass production. So you could basically now produce in a massive scale, right? And then you had this whole internet revolution. What it did, it basically democratized information.
Mm-hmm.
So now you don't really have to have, exclusive access to a lot of different sources to gather information. Now you have the internet. And as a result of that, the e-commerce evolved, right? So if you look at, technological evolution of, last few hundred years, industrial revolution basically made human strength irrelevant, right? Then you had this revolution in transportation, you had the electricity enable mass production, and then you have internet democratizing access to information, and e-commerce evolve over time. AI is a natural progression of this technological evolution. What AI is doing right now, it is trying to democratize intelligence. As a
Mm-hmm.
result of that, you not only have access to mass production, if you not only have access to mass information through internet, you also have access to mass intelligence, right? Through different AI systems. So as a result of that, what is happening, I think AI is fundamentally shaping how we do our day-to-day work,
Mm-hmm.
right? And AI is basically changing who does what in an organization. And AI is essentially, changing the whole idea of what an organization is going to be in the future, right? So, for example, how AI is shaping your day-to-day work, right? Some of the most repetitive, mundane activities could be automated through AI very easily, right? So this is essentially, some of the stuff that you had to hire a lot of people to do that. You could do it very easily. So, for example, if you look at me, all right, I am a researcher. Every summer, I hire RAs. And part of the project I have is when I have some new ideas, I hire 4 or 5 RAs, research assistant, and their job is the entire summer I pay them. They're going to explore those ideas, do the literature review, collect some preliminary data, and then, they are going to do the data analysis, preliminary data analysis for me. And then I'm going to pick and choose which one I'm going to focus on for the next 1 year for my research. All right. But now, because we have access to different large language models, now some of the work that my RA does for the entire summer could be done in a few hours, right? Because all you have to do is you have to load those research paper to these large language models and ask them to summarize for you and give you the gist of this paper. And you could load the data in an LLM, and you could ask the LLM to do the preliminary data analysis for you. So now I don't have to hire RAs for entire summer. I could basically hire them for a few hours and give them instruction. So this is what AI is changing, all right? How you do your work. And as an organization, as a business, some of the tasks that could have taken a few hours could be done in a few minutes. It could take, a few days, could be take hours. Few
Mm.
months, you can do it in days. So it is basically making things really fast and making things really sort of efficient. So this is the first thing. How you do your work is going to be different moving
Mm.
forward.
Mm.
And the secondly, who is doing what, right? So in an organization, if you think about the way I look at an organization as a researcher, you have entry level, you have mid-level management, you have the C-suite top level management. Right. So a lot of the entry level job staffs are basically is going to be taken away or made redundant through AI.
Mm.
So as a mid-level manager, you used to manage people to do stuff. Now an AI agent is going to do a lot of the stuff. So your role is going to shift more towards strategic, more towards critical thinking and creative thinking and new ideas. And
Mm.
of course, for the C-suite level people, it really, really needs to be a complete change in mindset. All right.
Mm.
So you need to think about your organization not as a traditional organization where you're going to have entry level, mid level, top level management, vertical, horizontal, or front office and back office. You're going to think about an AI agent as an employee, all right? And reimagine the entire organizational structure and have your new strategic insight and strategic plan how you're going to move forward. Because this is where things are moving, and AI is completely pulverizing how we think about business, how we think about what we do, how we think about how we do this, how we think about what a business organization is.
Yeah, no, I think that was really well said. Democratizing intelligence. I think that's a very apt way to look at AI, because everybody has access to that
Yeah.
intelligence now, and what they do with it is that's exactly what matters. So, what do you think mostly people get wrong about AI?
Well, I think there are a lot of AI is still at a very early stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
So right now the state of AI is we have very powerful LLM, all right, large language models like ChatGPT, Claude, Grok, and other things. So people are still building foundational models, and based on that, they're trying to customize different LLMs. It is still very early stage. So when a technology is in a very early stage, there are a lot of misconceptions. So I think, when I look at the trend, the discussion, the literature, I see two extreme views, right? So
Mm.
one of them think that, AI is a panacea. It is going to solve all of our problems, all right? This is one extreme. On the other extreme, the view is AI is an existential threat to the humanity.
Mm.
AI is going to replace human being, and it is an existential threat for all of us. So we need to be extremely fearful about this new sort of technology, new, revolution called AI. And I think both of them are wrong. So they are basically far from the truth. If you look at can AI solve all of our problems? Well, I don't know what's going to happen in the future. So there are a lot of discussion that, our the LLMs that we have right now, the state of AI is going to evolve into a something called now we call generative AI. All right,
Mm.
current state. Now it is going to evolve into people call you know
Mhm.
basically general intelligence, and then SGI, basically super intelligence. So people are saying that AI could be as intelligent as human. This is the
Mm,
general intelligence, or
mhm,
it could be more intelligent than a human being. This is super intelligence. But when that's going to happen, we don't really know.
mm,
As a economic researcher, I could look at what is happening right now, and right now, I is you know AI doesn't even understand, right? AI is basically looking at ton of data and trying to understand what are the different patterns in the data
mm,
and trying to utilize those patterns and predict what might happen. All right. So it's
mm,
basically a very simple, algorithm. You give me a ton of data. It could be text, it could be audio, it could be video, it could be visual data. AI could understand, analyze, and identify pattern in the data and
mm,
trying to predict what might happen. So that is the generative AI. I have learned from some of the text, and I'm going to use the pattern in this text to predict if you ask me to write an email, how that email should look like. So
mhm,
this is what AI is. AI doesn't have any judgment. AI doesn't have any even understanding what some of this means. All right. As human,
mhm,
we could contextualize things. AI cannot contextualize, right? AI doesn't have any empathy, right? It doesn't
mhm,
have any feeling. So I think it's basically an algorithm that is learning to learn from the data and apply that learning into how, to respond to your queries, depending on the learning that it had. So this is what AI is right now, right?
mm,
So it cannot solve all of your problem. You could think of it as a tool that could assist you to make your business more efficient, to help you solve some of the existing problems that you have, but it is not a panacea for all the problems that you have, right? So on the other extreme, I think people always get wrong is, AI is going to replace human being, and AI is the massive threat to the humanity. Again, I don't know what's going to happen, right? I'm not in the business of forecasting the future. People are saying about AGI and SGI sometime in the future, but we are not there yet. But what I see in the literature right now is AI is simply a tool, and it is a productivity tool that could help you make your business more efficient, make your processes more faster, rather than, replacing a human being. So AI, what I see right now, it could enhance intelligence, not replace intelligence.
yeah, makes absolute sense. It is a tool, right?
Yes.
And like how you make sense with the tool, or how you use the tool or not
Yeah.
use the tool. So doctor, just switching gears a little bit, trying to see if we can make it a little more practical now, since that
Mhm.
you've had so much information. So what should a business owner do in the next 30 to 90 days to not fall behind with the AI revolution?
So, business, it's again, there are different types of businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have, small business, you have medium, and then you have the large businesses. All right. In Canada, typically, we say if you have a less than, 99 or less employees, you're a small business. Between 100 to 499, you're a medium, and then 500 plus employees, you are a large business, right? I think large businesses, they probably figure it out, all right? They have expert, trying to, even medium-sized businesses. It is the smaller, and in fact, it is the micro businesses, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which basically, I've done a bit of research on very small micro businesses where essentially you are the owner and you're also the employee, or you are owner and you have 5 or 6 different employees and you basically substitute for one of the employees, right? So I think these are the micro and the small businesses, right? I think for them, the AI could be really instrumental, right? So I think, the first thing to ask yourself is, I think as a small business, I have done some research on small businesses, right? Small businesses, they really spend a lot of time, that I think they could better spend on, growing the company and increasing their sales, right? So if you are a small business owner, if you are a small and medium sized enterprise, ask yourself, what is a task where you're wasting most of your time, all
Mm-hmm.
right? is it responding to email from your clients, or is it responding to customer complaint, or is it trying to find a marketing expert to do some promotion for you, to generate some digital content for you? Where is the time you feel like that I'm really wasting my time here? I probably could better spend my time, let's say, to doing some networking, to create some new businesses, to going to some trade shop, to trade workshop or trade fair and generating some new businesses, all right, rather than doing these silly things that I feel like I'm wasting my time. So as a small business, I think identify a problem where you
Mm,
feel like you're wasting your time. It could be, different problem for different businesses. And once you do that, then I think you try to see whether you could deploy some AI agents, all right, to help you to address the problem. And, you know, because it's a small and medium sized business that have very limited access to resources, I always advise you know SMEs, try very small.
mm,
Try only one thing
mm,
and then test it out. And whenever you test it out, do not use any confidential data.
mm,
Because when you deploy an AI agents to respond to customer queries, do not give them very confidential customer information, all right? Test out the model in a very cheap and not so sensitive manner,
mhm,
and then see if it works. If it works, then you go to the next step. All
mhm,
right. So again, I think AI is not the problem. AI is not the solution also.
mhm,
AI is basically a tool
mm,
to solve the problems that you're facing as a small business. Identify the just one problem. In the next 30 days, identify one problem where you feel like you are wasting your time, that your time could be better spent to create more businesses, right? And then try to see whether you could deploy an AI agent to address this problem. And I think more importantly, businesses is not about technology. It is not about computer. It is all about people, right?
mm,
And I think one of the things that we are lacking in Canada, because I've done some research. Basically, I have collected 300,000 plus documents
mm,
where businesses are doing press release, they're doing their conference calls, they're doing their annual statement, quarterly statement. And I had a natural language processing algorithm that going through all this textual data and try to see how much are they talking about AI.
mm,
And I could see a significant spike in AI, right?
mm,
That people are talking about AI. But then when I look at, how much investment are they actually making in AI, right?
mm.
And if you look at the data, about 6% of the Canadian businesses are actually deploying AI agents.
Wow.
So all this talk are cheap talks. So they
Mm,
are talking the talk, they're not walking the talk, right? And part of the problem is not the fault of the business. Everybody's talking about AI, but they don't really know much about what AI can do to help them in their businesses, right?
mm,
And this is a problem of AI literacy, right? So if you are a small and medium-sized business, identify your problem, see whether you could deploy an AI agent to help your problem, and do it in a very cheap and do not use any sensitive data. And I think make sure your employees and yourself progressively become AI literate, because AI literacy is the precondition for you to use AI to help you solve your problem. And AI literacy is a big issue in Canada. I have friends who are working in the AI space. They have been asking the government to invest more in AI literacy, and this is very critical. Take your employees, take your people, go to different workshop like what MP is organizing, and make them AI literate so
mm,
that they view AI as a positive force, as a productivity enhancement tool, rather than something that's going to replace them. Because when people view a technology as it is going to replace them, their natural reaction is to basically rebel against it, right? If they view the tool as it is going to enhance their productivity, it is going to basically make them more efficient, and in turn, business will be more, productive and efficient. They'll be more receptive to the new technology. So I think this is something very important for small and medium-sized businesses.
mm.
AI literacy is very critical.
Makes total sense. That study that you showed, only 6% of them have actually adopted. That's very surprising, to be honest. So moving a little focus from the business owners to job seekers on the other end, right? What do you think the seekers should do in 30 to 90 days to stay to
Well, I think this is the common question I always get from my student.
yeah.
It's you really, before you ask yourself what type of job I'm going to apply, you really need to understand how AI has changed the job market landscape.
Mm,
So the traditional recruitment model that you're going to apply, and then some HR person is going to look at your resume and your CV, and then they think you are suitable for the position, you're going to get a call. All right. So the model that we had before, I always tell my student, is that it's basically a 25, 5, and 3. All right. So you
mhm,
apply for 25 jobs and you're going to get probably 5 calls out of the 25 jobs.
mhm,
And out of the 5 calls, you should be able to convert them into 3 second round interviews. And once you get 3 second round interviews, you're going to get a job offer. So it's basically 25, 5, 3, and 1 rule that I always say, do not come and ask me any question unless you have applied at least 25 jobs. But right now, I think that things have changed.
mm,
Because right now, how the recruitment process is done is completely different because more than 90% of the time, a human being doesn't look at your application. It
yeah.
is an application tracking system. And ATS is going to look at the application. And then it is going to scour through your resume, your cover letter, and then it is going to basically, based on that, match some of the keywords of the cover letter and the CV with a job ad and try to come up with some kind of ranking of the application, applicant based on that. And after that, an HR person probably is going to look at the shortlist. Before you get to the HR person, before you get to a human being as a job seeker, you have to get through the AI first.
Mm,
Right. So you really need to understand how the hiring process works, right? In most organizations, and that is where an application tracking system, and behind that is an algorithm that runs this process. You really need to understand how it works. So that means that you really have to make yourself visible to AI. And how you do that? All right. How you make sure that AI is going to identify your CV, your cover letter as a good match, right? This is something is very important. And
yeah.
of course, there are different tools, right? There are different tools you could use. You could ask an LLM, here is the job ad, here is my cover letter, here is my CV, customize, right? Again, you don't take them for granted. You take the help of AI
Mm,
so that you could get through an AI
mm,
and human could look at your applications. So this is very, very critical. And a lot of the kids don't understand this. When they first time look for a job, they say, you know what, I have got 4.0 GPA. Well, there are hundreds and thousands of other students who will have 4.0 GPA. Oh, I've got the dean's list. There are hundreds of thousands of people who will have dean's list. But
mm,
how do you make yourself stand out? How do you make yourself visible to an ATS so that you go through the screening process and so this is very critical. This is the first step to understand that you need to beat an AI with an AI to be visible. All right.
mm,
And so that your application, your profile gets to a human being and then you get the call. All right. So this is very critical. And the second thing that I think is very important is so this is the way we used to think about in academia. We used to think about we're going to either create a generalist or we're going to create a specialist. A generalist, like somebody with an MBA, somebody with a Bachelor of Commerce, right? You have a general set of skill. You know a bit about finance, a bit about accounting, a bit about marketing, a bit about HR. If you're an MBA, you have a general degree, a bit, elevated level. These are called general set of skills. And then we also say, okay, we need also some specialist, right? We need somebody in, let's say, in technologies. We have this MTEI program, Master of Technology, Entrepreneurship, and Innovation. We need somebody who is a specialist in finance. We have a Master of Finance, all right? So then we have the specialist degree. But right now, I think the way things are evolving, being a generalist or being a specialist probably is not going to, cut you much in the job market. What you need to have, you need to have something called hybrid. All right.
mm,
So, and what is hybrid? I mean that you need to have a general set of skill, but at the same time, you need to be, also well versed in AI because AI is going to be everywhere. You need to be a specialist. You could be a domain specialist like me. I'm a financial economist. This is my specialty. But I also try to understand how AI is going to shape my job and shape my work, all right? How am I going to teach, by incorporating AI agents or AI assistant in my, teaching module. So you need to really project yourself as a hybrid professional, not a generalist, not a specialist, right? I have a general set of degree, but hey, I have done this AI certificate through this professional body, all right? I'm a specialist in finance. Hey, I have also done this Microsoft certificate that basically talks about how to use generative AI in finance, right? So this is how you get noticed.
Mm,
You need to project your skill set as basically a hybrid professional rather than as a generalist or a specialist. And finally, I think it's very very important is you really have to understand that what matters,
mm,
in the age of AI, what kind of skill set that matters. We used to think, I think probably when AI was more of an experimental technology, now AI has become an essential technology from experimental to essential. We used to think that it's hard skill. Can
mm,
you do coding? Can you crunch number? Can you build financial models? Well, AI can do the coding right now. All right.
mm,
AI could analyze the data. AI could build financial models for you. I mean, look at Wealth Simple. Right? It's AI. Look at
mm,
Scotia Robo Advisor. It's all AI. Right.
mm,
But what is more important right now is a big comeback of soft skills.
mm,
We used to think that it's a hard skill is very important, that is going to differentiate yourself. But right now, AI could do a lot of the hard skills, right? But what AI is lacking right now is soft skills, right?
mm,
It's the creativity, it's critical thinking, it's the communication that you do. So you really need to master the soft set of skills in addition to the hard skills that you have, right? Because you need to differentiate yourself from AI because AI is competing with you some of the entry level jobs. So this is
mm,
very important. So you need to understand how the hiring is done. Number one is very important. You need to basically make sure that you get through the AI screening so that you can get to a human being. So number two, that you really need to think yourself as a hybrid professional rather than generalist or specialist.
mm.
And finally, you really need to differentiate yourself as somebody who is good in hard skill, but also have a lot of soft skills to offer. Right? Creative thinking, critical thinking, communication skills, team building skills, how to adapt in a changing environment. So you need to emphasize those type of skill set in your cover letter, in your resume, that will differentiate yourself from the rest of them.
Makes sense. Because you're competing with AI.
Yeah.
So I think you beautifully answered one of the questions that I wanted to ask was what are the skills that one needs to learn even as the AI grows? I think you beautifully answered what will stand out. So do you see people wasting time or chasing the wrong things when it comes to AI?
I think, sometimes, yes, to some extent, yes. Sometimes people overthink,
Mm,
right? And a lot of businesses overthink. Sometimes what businesses do, they chase technology.
mm,
What is the latest tool I could use? What is the latest sort of platform I could use? I think do not overthink as a
mm-hmm,
business or as a job seeker. Do not overthink. AI is going to replace my job. Face a problem, right?
mm,
What problem you want to solve? Identify the problem you want to solve, and then you know try to think about, is AI a right tool for you to solve the problem? Or maybe AI is not the right tool for you to solve the problem. So I think, this is the common thing that I find when I talk to business owner, when I talk to entrepreneur, and when I have done some systematic research, all right, with a colleague at University of Toronto. It's basically sometimes companies chase technology,
mm,
but they should change the problem.
mm,
Chase what problem you have. Go after the problem because AI may not be the right tool for you to solve the problem. So do
mm,
not overthink about AI. That, okay, I really need to adopt AI. Well, before you do the adoption, number one, make yourself AI literate. And second, understand what problem you're trying to solve. Is it that you are really bad in customer care, or you are really bad in marketing and content creation, or you are really bad in generating new business, growing your sales? What is your problem? And then based on that, what tool is the right tool for you to solve this problem, right? And I think the the final thing that I should say is that, again, the organization is not about AI or technology or tools. Your business is all about people. And whenever you have good and happy employee, they are productive employees and they are employees that are going to generate value for you. So think about people. What is a right tool for your people? All right. Think about your employees, and then think about an AI strategy around the people you have and the problem you have. Do not chase AI. Do not chase the technology. Chase the problem. Chase your people. So
Mm,
focus on the problem. Focus on the people. And find the right mix of technology that is going to basically elevate your people, make your employee more productive, and at the same time solve your problem. So I think this is sometimes I feel like, I mean, it's not about like, think about, you know, the internet, right? You have hundreds and thousands of companies invested billions of dollars in the new internet technologies. And how many of them became successful? Very few. And how
mm,
many of them were failure? It's more than 90% of them failed. The dot-com bubble burst, all right, in April 2000, and hundreds of thousands of companies failed because they were not trying to solve the problem using the internet. They're basically trying to see, how can I get the latest technology, and started investing a lot of money without thinking about the problem and the people. Company like Amazon, they came out winner. All right. One of the most
mm,
valuable company in the world, all right, because they were trying to use the internet to solve the problem. All right. E-commerce company like Google, Alphabet, all right, they're trying to use the internet to solve the problem, how people search for information, access information. All right. Company like Meta, Facebook, they're trying to solve the problem, how people get connected with one another by using the internet. So do not chase the internet, chase the problem, and then see how technology could solve, help you, solve the problem. And that's the company that would be successful moving forward in AI.
makes sense, doctor. And this definitely, I'm sure the listeners would understand how important information, right? Sometimes we take action before direction. Having a direction is more important before you take an action. Just focusing a little bit on MPA. So, mashallah, you're engaged with so many professional spaces and community spaces, right? What made you want to support MPA and be a part of the Impact Conference?
Look, I think, uh, you know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has been very kind and generous with me, right? And I think, if I could help in any way my Muslim brothers and sisters and the broader community in general, in whatever little insight that I have, be it MPA, be it any other avenues, if I could be of any help, I feel like it's a privilege for me to be there for my community. And also, it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? Allah doesn't place a lot of people in a position where, you have gained some knowledge and expertise that He could share, so that could benefit your student, your friends, your fellow community member. So that's the spirit that makes me engage with MPA. There is
Mm,
no substitute for hard work, by the way, right? You need to be working hard, you need to be sincere, you need to be committed to what you do. But at the end of the day, that is not enough,
mm,
right? If you talk to every successful individual, at some point in their life, in their career, they had somebody help them, giving them some direction, some motivation in some capacities, right? That basically changed the trajectory of their life, especially for me, right? My father was a big influence, what I'm doing, right now. And I have, I was fortunate enough to meet with some very, wonderful professors in my life. One of them is Dr. Arif Zakaullah from Pakistan. He was my professor at university in Malaysia. He was a mentor for me, and he completely changed the worldview and the perspective that I have. He passed away a few years back. May Allah grant him Jannah, and forgive him and accept all his good deeds. Dr. Arif and few other professor in my life have completely changed the trajectory of my life and opened my eyes in so many different ways. I wouldn't think about coming to North America, right, and pursue my professional career if it is not for Dr. Arif Zakaullah,
Mm.
because he said, you know, uh, I mean, you really have to pursue this, and he opened my eyes to a lot of opportunities. So
Mm.
again, I mean, at some point in your career, in your life, somebody was there for you,
Mm.
right? Of course, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there for us all the time. If somebody says that I achieved everything on my own, he or she is the biggest liar,
Mm.
right? You had some help. And I think if you had some help, it is incumbent upon you to
Mm.
extend that generosity to other people, right? And
Positive.
MPA is a forum like this where you go, you engage, and then what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, what your mentor, your sponsor, your well-wisher has given you, you give it back to the community.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that, Doctor. And if I may ask, how do values and ethics fit into conversations about AI, jobs, and business growth?
Look, I think, for me as a researcher, I always look at data, right?
Yes.
And something we call, objective analysis, and we call normative analysis, right? So I let the data speak for itself,
Mm.
right? Rather than, what I want data to speak to me, right? So I don't impose my value judgment on the data. So this is, being a researcher. But of course, every person needs to have a value system. And unless you have that value system, what defines you? Right? This is very, very important. How you approach problem, how you approach your engagement with other people, everything is grounded on a value system. And what is the best, what could be a better value system than the value system that Islam has given us,
Absolutely.
right? So I think, try to be a good Muslim and try to be a good human being. I think that is the biggest value system. And then approach everything with sincerity,
Mm.
with respect, with open mind, and, be truthful. And I think, that's enough. Be a good human being and then approach your problem with sincerity, commitment, and optimism. And I think if you are guided by those, leave the rest to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Absolutely. No, I think that was beautifully said. We have Salam Exchange as one of the networking. We've given official name for that. It's also about meeting people and building relationships. Why is networking still important if you take in the AI world, in the real world? The reason why I'm asking this is a lot of people still feel shy, or they don't go out and communicate as much as they should do. What would you suggest, or what would you tell?
So, again, I always get this question from my students, all right, who are trying to
Mhm.
navigate their job market after graduation. So, I said, okay, maybe I'm not the right person to ask this question. Let's talk to some very successful people, right? People, who are very successful, in their career. So, and then we usually invite those successful people. And by the way, if somebody is very successful, if you reach out to them, they really want to share how they became successful, right? So
Mm.
do not shy reaching out to people, successful people, because they would love to share and
Mm.
maybe brag about their success as
Mm.
well. So sometimes we shy away. We don't reach out to people who are very successful, but don't do that. Successful people would love to talk to you because they would love to share their ideas and
Mm.
how they became successful in the first place. So I think the common theme that I get when I talk to the successful people, what advice do you have, for my students, or what advice do you have for me, if I want to climb the trajectory of my career, because you're very successful. And the common theme is that you don't become successful by fluke.
Mm.
So there was a time when you actually met the right person at the right time and
Mm.
you actually asked the right question.
Mm.
So this is very important. So at some point in your career, you found the right person, right? And you basically, find the right setting
Mm.
and ask them the right question, right?
Mm.
And that to me is networking.
Mm.
So successful people, you talk to them, the common theme is they did not become successful by fluke. It was a very deliberate and concerted strategy of career planning. And that is meeting the right person, right, in the right environment and asking them the right type of question, right? So, for example, if you go to an MPA, that is a right setting. And if you are looking for a prospective career in the tech sector, you're going to find my good friend Saeed Al-Dirhali, who is the CEO of Simplecast, right? He is a right person for you, right? To get engaged. So you have the right setting, you have the right person, but what is a right question, right? Are you going to go and ask him, Mr. Saeed, give me a job? No, that's not the right question, right? You really need to find the right question, how to break the ice and open the conversation, right? So this is a skill. This is a networking skill. Finding the right place, finding the right person, and asking the right question, right? And that is networking. And networking works. I have talked to people, I've spoken to successful people that networking, hard work is important, commitment is important, being sincere is important, but it is also very important to network because without networking, you may not find the right opportunity with the right person, right? And there are a lot of examples I could give you. One of our successful alumna from the Sobe School of Business, when she met the CEO of one of the top 5 bank in Canada, she actually approached the CEO, uh, in one of the gathering where the CEO was giving a keynote speech, and she approached the CEO in that right setting, and then she asked him the right question. Here is my CV. You are underemploying me in your organization. I can do much better for you, right? The next thing that happened is she gets a call, come to Toronto, let's have a conversation, right? That's networking. So you have to go to places. You have to go to, events like MPA, other networking opportunities, and go and meet those individuals and open up the conversation and then start asking the right question. And that will open up the right opportunities for you. Because right opportunity doesn't come automatically. It doesn't come by fluke. All right. You could be lucky sometime to get the right opportunity. But if you talk to successful people, they will tell you it was not by fluke. It was meeting the right mentor, meeting the right person, getting the right advice, and always starting the conversation with the right.
Perfect. No, that was beautifully said, Doctor. Thank you so much for sharing that. So, this was a great conversation. Just before we end for today, if a business owner or a job seeker is listening and feeling uncertain about the future, what would you want them to hear?
Well, future will always be uncertain, right? Because nobody knows except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? What's the
Absolutely.
future? And we should not be in the business of predicting the future and basically, getting overboard with it. But what I always say, a successful business owner or a successful professional, they are never reactive to uncertainty. They are proactive to uncertainty. Right? So if you are a business owner who are just reacting to uncertainty, reacting to AI, well, you're not doing the right thing. Then you're going to get bogged down to a lot of things because every time a new challenge is going to come, you're going to react. Every time your reaction is going to be different. But if you're going to be proactive, rather than be afraid of uncertain challenge, you embrace them and you're trying to have a strategy around it, right? And how you're going to have a contingency plan to deal with this uncertainty. And that is being proactive, having a plan, right? Having a strategy in place so that converting your uncertainty or risk into an opportunity with the right strategy, that is the mindset. So again, I always tell, my student or people who are business owner in my graduate classes is dealing with uncertainty is always about mindset. Are you going to be a reactive mindset or are you going to be a proactive mindset? And proactive mindset always wins because you can never predict the future. The future will always be uncertain. It was industrial revolution, it was steam engine, it was electricity, it was internet, now it is AI. Who knows something is going to come in the future? But always have a proactive mindset. Do not shy away, embrace.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, doctor. Sometimes the practical advice is the best advice, and I think what you said was very beautiful and very practical. Thank you so much, Dr. Rahman. This was amazing. I really thank you for your time. I know you're a busy man. You took the time out for this. Thank you so much for this. Thank you for helping us about AI in a very grounded and a practical way. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure this is one of the many conversations, inshallah. We would love to have more conversations with you.
Thank you so
Jazakallah.
much, Farouz, and I'm looking forward to seeing you at the MPA conference
Same here, Dr. Rahman.
and to everybody else.
Yes, absolutely. All right,
Thank
doctor.
you.
Have a lovely day ahead. See you. Assalamu alaikum. Alaikum